Hey there, it's Rich Brecklin with Real Broker, your Arizona real estate agent. Today, I want to talk about this article from CNBC, and there will be a link to this article in the description if you care to read it. And I'm going to pull that up right now. So, this article, it talks about how to know when the bottom is in. And I'm going to talk about that and relate it to what we're seeing right here in Phoenix Metro. So that way, if you who are watching are thinking about making the move to Arizona, or even if you're already here and thinking about buying or selling, that you can use some of this information and help you decide, does now make sense for me to buy or sell? And what exactly does that look like? But if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for watching. As always, let's get right into this. So some key points this article talks about. Forecasts for home price declines this year are moderating. Zillow now expects a slight increase, which is funny because Zillow is always across the board. And some of the things I see written about Phoenix Metro specifically is it's all over the place. Inventories are climbing, but below pre-COVID levels, and existing home sales are stabilizing. Now, there are some half-truths there. So inventories here in Phoenix Metro, they did climb. However, over the last few months, they have fallen, and they are down, and they're still down from where they should be. And those low inventory prices, those low inventory numbers have really helped keep prices from falling too much because the buyer demand just has not been there, except for the month of January. And we'll get into that in a little bit. And then, unlike 2008, people have more savings and jobs and less mortgage loans, with 85% of homeowners under a 5% rate. Again, some half truths there. Now, a lot of homeowners do have a really great interest rate. And I'm not sure about people having that much money in savings, though, because the amount of consumer debt out there is insane. And looking really at the auto industry and some of the car loans out there, I'd be really shocked to see more studies on this and to see about how much actual money people have in their banks, because I know what auto prices have done, and people thought overpaying for a home above list price is crazy. I pretty much saw on every car lot of over MSRP for vehicles, which I don't get. I don't think I would ever pay above MSRP for a vehicle, but that's me. So going into this article, it says Chicago realtor Jeremy Fisher headed to Florida after Christmas, counting on 5 mostly relaxed weeks after slow second half of 2022 left him with a bunch of unsold listings that exiting the year. Instead, the Compass broker ended up flying back to Chicago 3 times during his low season. So he got busy, right? And we saw that because rates dropped. In January here in Phoenix Metro, we saw a huge turnaround, and I saw it with my own buyers. We were going to look at a house that hit the market day one. There's already 8 offers on it. So we experienced that firsthand. With that pullback in rates, buyer demand perked back up. I mean, that is a pretty simple concept. This article continues. After only a few months in the tank, is the U.S. housing market close enough to a bottom that it's time for those on the sidelines to at least start thinking about buying as spring shopping season nears? Signs are accumulating that the big price bust and mortgage rate relief that buyers wanted isn't materializing, at least not soon. So here in Phoenix Metro, again, when we went from very, very low inventory with almost no homes, and then we jumped up still below normal, but well above, almost 5 times, over 5 times where we were. And now we have pulled back some. And that pullback in inventory has really helped level out with the pullback in buyer demand. And then January, we saw low rates, and then the buyer demand pulled back up. And then we had multiple offers on listings again. So there's a direct correlation there, which I think is pretty obvious. And the article continues, no bust, but a standoff between buyers and sellers. Instead of a price bust, a la the one after the mid-2000s housing bubble, what's developing is a standoff, says Logan, I can't pronounce his last name, lead analyst for Housing Wire in Irvine, California. On the one hand, are buyers who would like homes to be affordable as in 2019, but a big share of them either have to move or can afford to despite higher prices and rates. On the other are sellers under no pressure to move since they have cheap mortgages and plenty of equity for now. So far, sellers are hanging tough in most cities. Even small increases in demand can keep prices firm or move them higher because inventory is so tight. Now, what we're seeing here is, yeah, inventory, it jumped up, it pulled back, and we still have homes that don't sell. And that's a number I track daily. And a lot of times when homes aren't selling here, it comes down to the price. You have these sellers who are still thinking it is 2021, they can slap any asking price on their home, sign in the yard, and people are going to be lined up out the door. However, getting it through to sellers that you're being unrealistic, you might as well go play the lottery because that is not happening. However, when you have a home that is halfway decent, priced accordingly, the buyers are there, they're able, they're willing, and that home is coming off the market. Meanwhile, the overpriced listing sits, that eventually they do a price reduction, but by then it's too late. And then they end up chasing the market, which is never a good spot to be in. You do not want to chase the ball down the hill and playing catch up, because by then you're chasing falling things that you want to get in front of, but it's too late. Now your home has days on market and people are going to want to come in and get a steal. You're not going to be happy. You're going to take your home off the market, and is another unsuccessful real estate attempt. So this article also talks about no return of 2008 or 3% mortgage rate. Now, I can't predict the future, and I'm not going to tell you we're going to get the 3% rate. However, I will be very, very shocked if we start seeing a 30-year 3% rate anytime soon. Right now, rates have jumped back up over the last few weeks, and we are closer to 7 than we are 6. Now, just here again in Phoenix Metro, we've seen the direct correlation with that, with a buyer demand pullback. So what do you do if you're a buyer, you want to buy a home? How can you combat that? Well, thankfully, with a buyer demand being pulled back, and it's not 18 months ago, you have a little bit more power than before. So you can get a seller concession where you ask for the seller to contribute. You buy down your rate either for the life of the loan or a temporary buy down. Or a lot of my clients are looking at new construction, and not brand new, but homes that have already been built, already spec'd out, and are considered, what's called a quick move-in home. Now, a lot of these builders want to get their homes off the books, and there are some great incentives. I was just at, I believe it was Lennar, but they have a series of quick move-ins homes where they're locked in at a 4.99% rate, which right now is outstanding. And they're also giving a $10,000 closing cost credit to the buyer. So you can use that for closing costs, buy down the rate even further. But that is a huge win for buyers who want to buy, who are really ready, willing, and able, but don't want to buy on the open market a resale home and pay close to a 7% rate or whatever that buy down they're going to get from that seller. So that is one avenue to look at if you're a buyer in today's market and you have to move, or you really want to move, and that is what you're going to do anyway. So look at these new construction homes, and if you want that list of some of the new constructions, the incentives, and price lists, drop me an email. I'll send that over to you. And this article continues, and the agent I mentioned before, they spoke to the client. So for Maggie Neuter, a client of Fisher's in Chicago, the answer boiled down to wanting a new place and being able to afford one. Having seen 6% interest rates when she first bought her place in 2007, she's not daunted by today's rate, she said. The 41-year-old finance executive bought a bigger home than she needed during COVID to ride out quarantines, and now wants a smaller place in the city's Lincoln Park neighborhood. So she executed a flip. And to calm her buyer's nerves and interest fears, to calm the buyer's fears about the rates, she is giving a closing credit big enough to buy down the mortgage rate on the buyer's loan for the first 2 years, commonly referred to as a 2-1 buy down. So that is a common thing right now. My last 5 closings have all had a concession from the seller or builder to buy down the rate. So the one good thing is that is something that is well known right now in the industry. If you are a seller, buyer, or a builder, that is, I want to say common practice, but it is almost common practice with most of these offers. So where are home prices now? And where are we seeing exactly right here in Phoenix Metro? And I'm going to pull up the Cromford report because I use it almost every day to track some of these metrics, some of the leading and lagging indicators. Now, when it says active listings, I usually only talk about single family detached. This talks about all types of properties, condos, attached, everything. And we are up a little bit. But in single family detached, we are slightly down. But look where we were last quarter compared to this number. And then active listings excluding under contract with backups, from 20,231 to 15,000. So a huge number. But look where we were a year and 2 years ago. And if you take just single family detached, that number is even less. But what I like to see is the pending. Now, a lot of these went under contract in January, so they haven't quite closed yet. And I have several of those with my clients, but we're up from where we were last month, up from last quarter, but not quite to where we were last year or 2 years ago. And listings under contract, same trend. And then sales per month are also up, but down from last quarter, and then down from where we were a year and 2 years ago. But what happened a year and 2 years ago is not normal. What we're doing right now is we are going back to normal times, just what we experienced and what we were so involved in. Anything different than that just feels extremely odd. Another trend I like to look at is the listing success rate. So we're up to 71.9. Now, last month, we were down to 61.3. Last quarter, 63.3%. So that means 100 homes listed, 71 of them are selling. I think that's pretty simple, but kind of give you an idea. In last year and 2 years ago, that was 90%. So that was, again, unprecedented and not normal. But to see this trend going upward, and this is a lagging indicator. And I think this number, if we look at a month from now, will again be higher. And then going down to the average monthly sales price, we're up from last month, down from last quarter, but we're up from last month. And that's a good trend considering we were falling down. And then last year we're down from that. But 2 years ago, 441, and 3 years ago, it is up probably, I think 3 years ago, it was around 350, 340. So if you owned a home for at least 3 years here in Phoenix Metro, you have quite a bit of equity. And then you ask yourself, well, where am I going to go? Now I'm going to have to pay more money. Well, that's true. But if you want the home, you can afford it, and you're ready, willing, and able to buy, then that is what people are taking into consideration when they are moving, when they are buying. And then looking at the Cromford Market Index, remember 100 is a balanced market. And right now we are at 124. So above 100 is a seller's. A year and 2 years ago, we were way beyond that. But at one point we dropped under 90 here. So how are you going to know when the bottom is in? Well, when you start seeing more foreclosures, when you start seeing inventories rise up, when you start seeing 8, 9, 10 months of inventory. And right now we're in the 3 month. The bottom is not there. Maybe the bottom already happened when we had that peak of inventory. But a lot of it is going to have to do with what happens with mortgage-backed securities and what happens with rates in today's market. But rest assured, if someone is wanting to move, they can afford it, they are still going to buy. Now, the market is always good for someone. Now, if the market does tank, it does crash, I have investor friends, investor clients that are going to love it, and they're going to be happy, and they're going to go scoop it up. However, with the amount of jobs and businesses coming here to Phoenix, Arizona, and the surrounding area, and the amount of people moving here per day, I will say this right now, I do not suspect a massive crash to happen, at least not what people are thinking when they think crash. Now, we may see some price decline, but that is normal. We had a 38% year-over-year appreciation, and that is not sustainable. So having this pullback where we are right now, which I'm calling aggressive balance, to me, this is a normal spot. This is a healthy spot to be in. It's where buyers can win, sellers can win. They have great equity. Buyers are able to have a little bit more breathing room when it comes to looking at homes, putting offers on homes, and also getting some concessions. And if you don't want to buy resale, get with me and I'll help you with the new construction process and make sure you're taken care of so you do get some of the concessions there. But again, this is just to help you put it into perspective and see if it makes sense for you to buy. So again, real estate is always going to happen. It just at different speeds. So does it make sense for you? That's really, just a personal question. So if you have any questions on this boring topic of real estate, always happy to discuss, to help in any way. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. It really boosts my ego and I appreciate it. Watch this next video and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. It's Rich Brecklin, Real Broker. Bye.